Hi, Frenchy here for the Grown Up Throttle. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to try to answer the question, what should be your first bike where you are a grown-up and you just have your license? If you have watched the previous video where I was speaking about the need of having 3 bikes, you might remember I mentioned that having a more rugged bike, adventurer style bike, is actually probably a very good choice. So today we are going to do a complete test and I will give you my complete thoughts on the Himalayan 450, the successor of the Himalayan 411. It is, spoiler alert, a very good bike and a bike I will advise not to buy. I know it sounds paradoxical, but we will come to that a little bit later in the video, and you will see why I absolutely love the bike and why I'm still saying you probably should not buy one. Well, let's go for it now. You all have Google, so I will just gloss over the specs very rapidly. Brand new, the bike is about 6 grand. It weighs around 200 kilograms and gives you more or less 40 braking horsepower and 40 Newton meter of torque. It's a 6 gear with switchable ABS and all the gubbins of a modern bike, obviously. It is quite high to sit on, with a seat that is almost 85 centimeters tall. So it's not a bike that you will want to try and use if you're 5'2" or 5'3", but I think for anyone being more than 5'8", say a meter 70 centimeters tall, it's going to be completely manageable, especially because it's not that heavy. Before anything, I would like to mention that this test was conducted in Staffordshire around the Uttoxeter racecourse during the Women in Moto event, and if you don't know them, you will want to go on their website womenmoto.co.uk and have a look at what they're doing. Every year they're doing this event, which is really nice to go. There are inspirational speakers, there is an adventure zone, quite a few activities, really, workshops. There are obviously exhibitors. You can ride at the show, you can test ride bikes, which is what I did. You've got an arena, training zones, you've got galleries, a moto gymkhana. It's really worth going. And if you are a woman going into biking, it's really the yearly event for you, because you will find there a vast majority of women. As a man during the ride, I felt a little bit intimidated, especially because quite a few of these women were very experienced, and me, poor rookie, trying to catch up behind them was it was quite a bit intimidating, but it's really nice to go there. So have a look at their website, have a look at their activities. Uttoxeter racecourse in Staffordshire in England. It's really worth it every year in August. Let's begin with the dials and the gauges, just because it's the third thing that appears during that test, and you can see it's a very classic display with the RPM all around the clock, the gear indicator, interestingly, that is bang in the middle, and the speed that has the biggest digits. The secondary display right in the middle, you can see those 4 little bars in half a circle, are actually the fuel gauge, because there is a fuel gauge on that bike. Now that sort of a digital display is nice and really modern. However, if you compare to here my Bandit, you will see that on my Bandit, even in the full sun, you can perfectly see the dials, because it is not lit up from behind. It's actually a physical analogic dial. Now on the Himalayan, I really regretted that digital display, simply because as soon as the sun is a little bit misplaced compared to you, you just can't see anything. We will come back to that later on. You will see how the display just disappears on you if the sun is not placed properly. As soon as the sun is somewhere between your 4 o'clock and your 8 o'clock, you don't have a display. That's a little bit annoying. An interesting thing to mention is that on this particular bike, the gear indicator for the 6th gear did not work. If you pay careful attention to the dial, you will see that even when I go from 5th to 6th, it still indicates 5th. And when I go back from 6th to 5th, it still indicates 5th anyway. So whether you are in 5th or 6th gear, it always says 5th. I am pretty sure it is a one-off fault for that specific bike, that not the model, but that specific one bike, because no one else has mentioned it, and I couldn't find any mention of that on the forums or online. It's not a fault that is known. There are a few faults that are known with this bike, and specifically the early models had some sort of rattling, and it is known to pull slightly on the right for whatever reason. But that fault is not mentioned anywhere that I could find. So I'm pretty sure it's a one-off, but it's still worth mentioning. The other thing that is worth mentioning is actually a very good point. As a beginner, that bike was inspiring confidence straight away. Like immediately after a few seconds, a few minutes at worst, I really felt like I had handled that bike all my life. It is solid, it feels planted, it is eminently predictable, it is very, very nice to ride. And we will see a little bit about the seating position later on as well, but I really had the immediate feeling that I could spend hours on that bike without suffering any sort of fatigue. The suspensions are amazing, they absorb the road, the seating position is extremely comfortable, the seat is extremely comfortable, and the bike is eminently predictable, which is a big plus if you are a beginner. Another excellent point of this bike is how the gear go through. Like each gear clicks with a very comforting feel to it. It's neat. You touch the gear and you know it went through. The neutral is very easy to find, and each gear up or down just clicks neat. You feel that you've engaged as you should have. The problem I had mostly with that bike is not a problem specifically with the Himalayan. I think it's a question of taste. I'm very used to 4 cylinders, and this is a thumper. This is a 1-cylinder bike. It vibrates an awful lot, and especially under load. It's really a glorified vibrator. There's no other way to put it. It can feel uncomfortable for someone who is used to engines that are smoother, like obviously me, or even if you ride usually a triple, or if you're used to a triple, it will feel that there's something wrong. It's completely normal because it's a thumper, but still it can be a little bit deceiving. Vibrations go through you, both through the handlebars and through the pegs, and that can be unpleasant if you're not used to it. If you're used to it, you will just not notice it, I assume, but it's something to be aware of. The other thing is, because it is a thumper, the power delivery is perfectly linear, so perfectly predictable. The throttle is not choppy at all, which is really good, because it means you can smooth out your power delivery without use of the clutch, even in first gear. It has really a good course for that. Now, one of the things that makes the bike feel extremely safe is how rigid the frame is. I have tried a few bikes where if you wriggle the handlebars a little bit, you can actually feel the back of the back wheel becoming like squirmy, wiggly, because there is a little bit of play between the front wheel and the back wheel. This one, I have to say, is absolutely rigid, and it is very, very comforting. It feels like you can put your wheel exactly where you want it, to the half inch. It's really comforting. However, there is also a massive problem. The bike at 40 horsepower is surprisingly underpowered. Like 40 horsepower should take you on really easily at speed. I tried to push the bike, and it was a straight line that was going slightly down, and I was not able to reach 90 miles per hour. I topped up at 80 something miles an hour, which is quite a little bit under what the specs by the manufacturers say, because it should go to 88 miles an hour officially. There are a few reports online where people were able using proper wind and a long straight going down lines to take them at almost 95, 100 miles an hour. I was absolutely not able to do that. Now, I am a big guy. I am 5'11" and just shy of 16 stones. So there is a little bit to haul for that bike. But still, that was a little bit disappointing. And more importantly, it took forever to reach that speed. You will see in a moment during an overtake or an attempt at overtaking. I looked at the video and measured exactly what happened. I used a stopwatch to measure exactly what happened. And to go from 45 miles an hour to 75 miles an hour took 9 seconds, and that is way too much to be able to overtake safely. So if you have a bike like that, it's okay if you are going at a senator's pace. It is absolutely not a performance bike. It is very comfortable, it is very satisfying, but well, I'm sorry to say, it's a donkey. Now, saying that may sound a little bit harsh because obviously it's not a sports bike, it's not a performance bike, it is neither designed or marketed for high performance. And I have to say that the seating position, like all adventure bikes, is really comfortable. If you look at how my limbs are placed on that bike, you can see there is absolutely no strain in any of my articulations, which is really nice, because you could absolutely go on that bike for full days and probably on greening as well without feeling any strain on your knees, on your hips, on your shoulders or on your neck. That is a great plus, specifically because that saddle is absolutely amazing. My butt cheeks really thanked Royal Enfield for that attempt. But unfortunately, I must say, I have doubts, and this is where I'm coming to the part where I said, you know, it's a great bike, but I wouldn't advise you to buy it. Here is the thing. The bike has 40 horsepower and has proven not to be able to perform with enough brutality, essentially, in traffic, even to overtake that old Volkswagen Beetles that was limited at 45 or 50 miles an hour. And on that B road, the Himalayan doesn't have the peps it needs to overtake a car like that in a distance that is short enough to be safe. And if you go on the website of Royal Enfield and you see how the bike is marketed, you will understand that it is maybe not designed for who they think it is. The website is really welcoming, and it really looks classy, and it makes you want one of those bikes, which is the point, obviously. The graphics are really clever, the colors are... Yeah, it's very tempting. However, here is the basic truth. We are behind that blue car, and with the Himalayan 411, we would be exactly in the same situation, while we know the 750 is coming out. That has been confirmed. It will be there pretty soon. So there is really no point having the 450 if you have to ride it as we rode the 411, because the 750 is assumed to have 55 horsepower and 65 Newton meter, and there's really big doubts that it's going to be sold for 12 grand. It's still going to be in the Royal Enfield ballpark, and the result of that is that all the 411 have now dropped in price considerably. So you can find a proper, well-kept, well-maintained 411 for a third of the price of a 450, and there is really no point spending the extra 3 grand or 4 grand for a bike that is in effect only 2 years newer, and with an extra 20 horsepower, that will not allow you to use that power completely, simply because it is still not enough to compete with other bikes, or to compete with the car for that matter. So it completely defeats, in my opinion, the point of the 450, because if you're interested in Himalayan, I think you've got essentially two choices. You can either buy a second-hand 411. You will find really good ones, pretty much brand new, for under 3 grand as it stands now. You can easily find an Himalayan like a 2023 with under 10,000 miles, under 3 grand. It's really not a challenge. Or you can wait a little bit and buy the 750, which will give you at long last the power and the torque that is needed. Which is why I say the 450 is really a great bike. It's been great fun trying it. It is extremely comfortable. It is very satisfying. I think it would make a fabulous first bike, in as much as it feels safe, it feels predictable, it has a little bit of torque, a little bit of power. As a first bike, the comfort cannot be underestimated, and they're obviously not that expensive, even new. However, it's just that if you had asked me 6 months ago, or even 3 months ago, I would have told you, yeah, definitely buy that as a first bike. But no, I just won't, because if I wanted an Himalayan, I would go for the 411, or I would wait for the 750. Okay guys, that's it for today. More to come very soon, and in between, don't forget, on the road, behave like grown-ups. Stay safe. See you soon.